I'm curious about this, and Aaron, you've done stand up comedy before too, so I wanted to bring
Mhm.
that in. The process of booking a gig at a comedy club, like what is that like?
It's very it's very much who you know,
Yeah,
Mhm. especially at first. Like I've gotten bumped so many times at open mics, shows, anything where like I thought I was on the list, and then like 3 hours goes by, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, buddy, you're
right.
not gonna be on tonight." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll just go fuck myself." Like, what do you just make me wait all this time for nothing?
Yeah.
But that's just the nature of it. Unfortunately, if it was up to me, I wouldn't do it that way.
Right.
But it builds a tough skin, honestly, and it did. So I'm actually kind of glad that happened over the years. First 3 years pretty much was like that for me. But then now it's like gone to the point where like people just other because like all the shows in the city or wherever you go are run by other comics.
Mhm.
So it's all just like who you know, and if you're not in that group of friends, you're always getting bumped. You're always like not main priority, and so until you actually prove those people wrong, or prove them prove to them that you're actually funny, you've made audiences laugh, you have a good 5 minute set where you can send to them, and then they're like, okay, fine, here's a spot. But yeah, it's just a long game, and you have to be very patient, and you can't get down on yourself. You have to just take the hits and keep moving. So that's that tough skin that you build doing that stuff. Yeah. So
It gets to the point too where like you almost enjoy how badly it can go. You're
yeah,
like, this is almost so funny that I'm bombing. And like I've done the show where I was the last person on, and it wasn't like headlining. I was just the last person at this open
yeah,
mic,
yeah.
and
Definitely not headlining. Yeah,
no, no, no. And then it came down to just me, the host, and the janitor who was just waiting to clean up. So I was like, I
yeah,
guess I'll just go. You know,
yeah.
you're like, oh, this is a story for another set later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely been there many times, man. I've performed in the weirdest places. Like I literally performed in a dungeon in front of a guy who was asleep and his dog. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Like I'm just talking about like being a fat fuck eating pizza at 2 in the morning, and no one's listening there. Like, what
You
am I
have these
doing?
like out of body moments where you're like, you see what's happening to your life. You're like, how did I get here?
Yeah,
Why is it just me talking
Literally,
to this man and his dog?
I
Yeah.
know it's and you in that moment, you're like, is this really worth it? Like, what am I doing with my life? I should have stayed at U of T.
Yeah. My
Um,
parents were right.
yeah, parents
Yeah.
were right. Yeah,
maybe a more positive note though. On once you're on stage, maybe like talk a little bit about how much you can learn once you're on that stage performing, because I imagine like just timing in itself, like the more and more you do sets, the more you pick up on where to give a little pause and let it breathe, and those sorts of things. Like, have you noticed that as time goes on?
yeah, for sure. No, that's the beauty of doing stand up and getting on stage as much as possible, because the more you do it, the more you realize about yourself, about the audience, about the show itself, about stand up as an art. And, it takes time. That's why they say like it takes a year to come up with a good, tight, I don't know, like 5, 10,
Yeah.
15 minutes. And I didn't know that until I experienced it myself. And it did take me over a year to have a proper, like, good 5 minute set. I'm like, wow, all these shitty bits I've tried on stage over hundreds of times in this year got me to this point only. And so, like, the first thing you learn is just kind of like learning how to actually, like, the technique, learning how to use the mic,
Hmm.
which is the most important part. Knowing where to put the stand when you take the mic out of the stand, you know what I mean? Like technical
Hmm.
things. And then after that, you learn how to like gaze the audience, like where to look, how often to look,
Hmm.
how loud you're talking into the mic, whatnot. And then you learn delivery and waiting for the last to finish before you say the next line. Stop, don't jump over the laughs. All these things affect how your set goes, and it takes way longer than you expect to actually for it to come to fruition and to also act on it to improve on it. But it's all part of the process, and you just have to enjoy it, and you have to be open to learning new things every time you're on stage, and to learn to do bad. You also have to be comfortable doing bad.
Hmm.
If you're not comfortable shitting the bed and getting no laughs, you're not going to get anywhere in this industry. So
Yeah. Being a perfectionist definitely is not a
no,
trait you
you
want
can't.
if you're doing
No
comedy. You
chance.
have to be okay to like totally eat shit in front of people that you'll never meet again, but
Yeah.
still it sucks.
Yeah, for sure. No, like that's the thing. Like people think that doing bad is like one set is that means you're a shit comedian. That's not the case at all. Bill Burr does bad sometimes. Kevin Hart's
Mhm.
bombed,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like doesn't mean they're bad comedians. It's just that was a bad set. You're as good as your last set. So
Mhm.
it's like, it doesn't make sense, right? To label yourself as that. So it's just all about pushing through and being consistent and persistent more than anything, because that's just how it is.
Do you remember one of the first few jokes that really landed on stage?
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't remember the exact joke, but
Hmm.
I do remember the actual the context or the content of the material.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
was about, because I was a bigger guy when I was starting to do comedy. I was like 100 pounds heavier and much bigger, visibly just obese. So I was always doing a lot of self-deprecating humor. I was making fun of myself. I started off very easy, right? They always say like start off with self-deprecating humor to get into the groove. Actually, yeah, there's a couple I do remember that I did really well, obviously. But like now, obviously now that I look back on it, I'm like, these jokes were so hack and just cheap, But like, you got to start somewhere,
You learn from
and
that, right?
you
Yeah.
learn from that. Yeah, for sure. It's like you can't. You got to start somewhere, right? So, one of the first jokes I said that I guess killed on stage was, I have a lot of cool hobbies, like diabetes, tennis, like heart failure, and then yeah, I forget the rest, but like that was definitely that was the one that kind of got a big laugh. Yeah.
I feel like you're really good at like capturing kind of human moments. Like you have this Instagram video, and it's like you after hanging out with a friend, and you're mentioning how you're going to go get more food from like a fast food restaurant
Oh, yeah.
after, and I'm like, that is something I've definitely done. But like
Yeah.
it's great that you just the way you did it, and it's so like emotional as
Yeah.
well.
It's very
The
extra.
music's perfect.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, and you had this bit about like what salespeople look like when they're on
Oh,
the call,
yeah.
which I do sales in my like real job,
Okay.
and I was like, that is to a T. It's perfect.
Nice.
I just
Glad you
yeah,
liked
you're
it.
you're you're really good at capturing
Yeah.
these like bizarre
Yeah,
moments.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. It's fun, man. I naturally have a talent of being very observant in
Hmm.
daily life. I'll notice the small things and small details in people
Hmm.
and just in general.
Yeah.
And so that's what helps me.
I really noticed that too when you were capturing all the individual Toronto Raptors players. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. Just to a T. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I
Even if the
appreciate that.
nameplate wasn't there, like it's so easy. Like you would
Yeah.
get it right away. So
Thank
definitely
you.
observant.
Yeah, thank you.
Just before we wrap here, you mentioned it kind of towards the top of the interview, but like, what's the dream, Neema? Like, what's the end goal here? Like, you just want to keep creating content and making people laugh and see where it goes. Like, I remember like years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine in TV, and his answer to like what his dream job would be was it may not even be created yet, right? Like, we're in such a industry where like the technology is just advancing so quickly every 2-3 years that we may not even know. Like we didn't know what TikTok was 2 years ago, right? And look at how big that has been for content creators. So,
Hmm.
what do you say? Like 10 years from now, what do you envision your life being?
Well, I'm gonna be famous by that point,
Of
and
course.
it's not that because I just want to be famous, but I just see it happening because just the trajectory of where I'm going from now, and
Hmm.
how much more work is going to be done in the next year, alone. And I have plans, to write a TV pilot ready to go. I also was a part of a TV pilot we're pitching to Netflix soon.
Oh wow! Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And then I see myself being a movie star. I just see it, and I've been getting better auditions, and it's just going to be that one break for me because I
Hmm.
put in the work every day, and I stay consistent as much as I can, and I try to stay humble too because I know where I started and how other people who want to also collab with me eventually, like I'll give them a chance too because I know how it feels to be someone with like 1,000 followers and just getting started and you know not being the best at what you're doing, but I'm always open to giving other people opportunities as well. And I just want to be a movie star. I want to tour the world doing stand up, obviously. And yeah, I just want to keep creating content every single day and inspiring people, entertaining, and making myself happy, most importantly. And that's the dream right there.
how do you get to 1,000 followers? How do you? I'm like, where do you? How do you get to that?
Just post, man. Post fucking content, okay? Like, as Gary Vee would say. Yeah.
Very good, Neema. That's fantastic. We love your positive attitude, and
Yeah.
as I said off the top, you're just so genuine, and I think you put a lot of smiles on people's faces. So we really appreciate your time, and thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
guys so
keep
much for
killing it,
having me.
man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And that was a very fun interview, by the way. And I'd love to be back eventually soon.
Absolutely, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And best of luck to you guys with the podcast.
Thanks, Neema.
Thanks, man.
All right.